Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown. What a year 2020 has been, but there were some highlights and some interesting things to consider. So let's take a look at the year in review. I am delighted to be joined by Council Member Mitch O'Farrell from the 13th. So nice to see you, Mitch. There's a joke.
You too.
Yeah, there was a quote I had to actually think about this, by a man named Henry Guest. He said, if Plan A fails, remember you still have 25 letters. I think that is a perfect explanation of all the decisions that had to be made in such a tumultuous year. And you made some really, really positive choices. How do you feel as the year ends here?
Well, Maria, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to see you. And I think that if we go with that example, we're probably on X, Y, and Z at this point. So ironically enough, I'm filled with joy at all of the blessings that I have personally and the blessings of my team. We've been able to really meet the moment, I think. And let me just say a disclaimer here. Nothing we ever do is enough or will be enough, considering the challenges we face. But I feel good that we've done everything we possibly can, and we're going to continue doing everything we possibly can. And I knew that when this pandemic hit in late March here in Los Angeles, mid to late March, that we were going to be in for a really long struggle. Okay. So, well, what's the most important thing, depending on the great unknown, but knowing how infectious this disease is? I realized that the economy was going to suffer, and that suffering would begin very quickly because of the shutdowns. So my team and I set to make sure that we did everything we could to keep people fed and housed.
Well, that's really an important thing to consider, because there were immediately some rental assistance programs and some moratoriums on making sure that, people were not evicted. How did all of that play out, and how fast were you able to get that put into place?
What I did was I reprioritized some discretionary funding within my district, the 13th district. Funding that would have gone towards some of the streetscapes that I'm doing or public infrastructure improvements. They're very, very expensive. So I identified $1 million to create a rental subsidy for folks to help pay their rent. And then I created another $1 million fund to help small businesses by reprioritizing discretionary funding. Now, at the same time, we were doing resolutions in support of the HEROES Act, in support of the CARES Act, and working on allocating some of the CARES Act funding that Congress approved back on March 29th. So at the same time we were acting locally, we were also working with our state and federal legislators to bring resources at the local level also. Well, the funding that I did for the renters helped about 500 households in the 13th district. And then my colleague, Council President Nuri Martinez, did the same thing in her council district at the same time. And we turned that into a citywide program where we used CARES Act funding. We allocated over $100 million to help renters across the city. Of course, that was unanimously supported on the city council. So we're very proud of that work, because that was able to give a $2,000 per household subsidy to help people cover the rent.
Because of the fact that now we're looking back, you're able to maybe understand a little bit about how this actually helped. Did you hear from people who received these subsidies and received this assistance?
We know that over 50,000 households in the city of LA have benefited from this. Wow. And we worked with a lot of renters and with a lot of landlords. Some landlords, it was a pretty small universe, were reluctant to accept this arrangement because it came with expectations that the tenant would not be evicted. Right? So it came with the expectation that the landlord and the tenant would work together so that the person or the household could stay housed during and after the pandemic. So we put some of those, benchmarks and requirements in the ordinance. And then we also certainly heard from the businesses we helped with the funding in the 13th district. We've helped 60 so far receive $5,000 grants. So yeah, there is gratitude out there, but that's certainly nothing that I'm expecting. We just kind of do what we can and we just keep moving.
And so many of the things that you're talking about are so fundamental to people's basic needs, and including being fed. And I know that there was a huge campaign to make sure that those at great risk were fed, and those that needed it had the opportunity to have, you know, food prepared for them and taken to them, even though they may not be able to get out, especially during the safer at home periods in time.
Yes. So I worked with my colleague Paul Krikorian on a state-funded program for delivering meals to seniors where they live, and we did that with the while also supporting taxi cab drivers.
Yeah.
So we supported the taxi cab industry while delivering meals to seniors where they live, and then we extended that program through the end of the year because it was set to expire a couple of months ago. So that's one thing that we did months ago. But as far as the food distribution, yeah, I mean, back in the first week of April, I was at the Dream Center in my district helping them distribute drive-through food distribution efforts, which they continue. And since then, I've worked with about 20 organizations, both in the faith community and just in the nonprofit world, Project Angel Food, just so many. And then we began doing a monthly food distribution in addition to all that out of my field office. And we're going to continue that once a month through all of 2021, because it's going to take a while to get caught up, even once the vaccines have been rolled out and the pandemic begins to ease. It's going to take a lot of work and recovery after that.
Were you pleased or grateful, or just, had some sense of at least we're able to do things rapidly? Because government at times is laden with a lot of red tape and things take a long time, processes take a long time. But it seemed like the response in your district was immediate and impactful and efficient. Do you feel that as well?
We certainly gave it our best. We did have to really push for some of the reports to come back so we could then adopt ordinances. But yeah, relatively speaking, we sped things up in the typical slog of making sausage at the legislative level. And we learned a lot on the way also. And I think that I've always been a natural researcher of things. My mother did that as her profession. So I have a very curious mind into data, collecting data and reading periodicals and trade publications. So, for example, when it came to the delivery app cap that's another emergency ordinance that I did back in late May, early June.
Right.
I learned that the restaurants were getting gouged by these Wall Street funded delivery app companies, 30-40% per delivery or pickup at a restaurant, right when they were going 90% delivery or pickup because the restaurants were closing.
Right.
And so they were losing money, but to stay in business, they had to lose money, and they were basically at the mercy of these delivery app companies. So I imposed a 15% maximum charge for delivery or pickup. And that was really quick work. But we did a lot of the research ourselves, and then we passed the emergency ordinance, and then we extended it and protected it, made it stronger a couple of months later. But yeah, we improved our systems, and I think that'll be one of the legacies of a post-COVID world. How can we have a greater sense of urgency and reduce red tape to make good things happen?
Well, let's take a look at a lot of the hard work you and your team have done this year.
Sounds good.
We know that we have great architecture. The world hasn't always thought so. And so now we don't have to justify it anymore. We've got it and we're recognized for it. And UNESCO's done it.
I think what's coming together is the possibility of a grand vision for St. Vincent's Medical Center. We could end up with a facility that is almost ready-made to be reoccupied to help address the #1 crises facing the day.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Today we dedicated the Red Car River Bridge. So in the coming years, we'll have connectivity at the Los Angeles River, which is all of our goal, as never before.
Please continue to support farmers markets. We have many small farm vendors here that do need your support.
All Black Lives Matter.
I just want to be heard. I want us all to be heard.
Today is the day that we're supposed to stand together and really show solidarity for what we believe in.
We're all in this fight together. We're one species, and that's human.
This is not my plight, but it is my fight.
Maybe the urgency with which we need to act as a society to really eliminate the inequities as it relates to social justice in America. This will be a constant reminder that we must never forget our mission. LUPITA'S Market is really ground zero for this community. Distributing food and making sure that people aren't food insecure during COVID is critical all over the city. We've got college students, high school students, a lot of young people volunteering on a Saturday to make sure that there is less food insecurity right here in Hollywood. This is our launch of a monthly meal distribution taking place at my field office, and we're doing it this month, in the month of December, and every single month in all of 2021. This is Small Business Saturday. Chances are the person who owns the store lives locally.
That's me.
And that's Lori. You live here in Elysian Valley?
I'm on the next street over. It's very nice.
Lori lives here. So you're supporting your neighbors, you're supporting your local families when you shop locally as well. Hello, everyone. This is Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, and this is my first virtual council member in your corner. I represent the 13th District, which includes the neighborhood that we're going to talk about today, Rampart Village. In this edition of Councilmember in Your Corner, we will share the work that we're doing in Elysian Valley. I want to really express my gratitude for everyone for tuning in so that you can hear about what is happening in Little Armenia in the 13th District.
Looking back, I'm sure you're overwhelmed at all that work. But now there's a new year ahead of us. And so what are you looking forward to in 2021? And what things can we expect from your district?
Well, I think that the consensus is in, and 2021 is very likely going to be much better than 2020. So, one industry that suffered a whole lot is our small theater community. They basically shut their doors, and our small theaters need to thrive once again. So one of the subsidies that I provided was funding for our small theaters. So in 2021, I want to see them reopen and thrive again, and we're going to work with that community. But also, I think that we're gregarious by nature. Human beings want to be around other human beings. So I think that once the pandemic eases, there's going to be such pent-up energy to just get back out there, and that will help the economy thrive once we are back out there enjoying life. And we're going to value things much more, and I hope that we never, ever forget that. There will probably be the 2020 pandemic generation. And you know, it's a reminder how precious life is and how appreciative we can be for the blessings that we have.
Well, thank you for all you've done, and I look forward to seeing you in person, and warmest wishes for the new year.
So do I, Maria, and may God bless you and your family and everyone at Channel 35. Thank you.